Welcome to the Product Quest podcast. Thank you for joining us on our journey to better understand innovation and product strategy. My name is Scott Burleson, and joining me as always, my co-hosts Jan Vermouth and Jonathan Edwards. Today we welcome our special guest, Katerina Kozludzhova. Katerina is an experienced product manager who became so enthusiastic about innovation, she went on to get a PhD with her dissertation on the commercialization of software innovation. Today, she is the Chief Assistant Professor of Business Innovations at Plovdiv University in Bulgaria, where she teaches courses on innovation, creativity, design thinking, product development, and commercialization. She's the author of the book, Business Innovation, which we are certain to get into today. Katerina, welcome to the Product Quest podcast.
Scott, thank you kindly for your invitation, and that was a great introduction. The greatest I have ever heard. Thank you so much, and you said it so right. Right.
Well, thank you.
It's me, yes.
We specialize in introductions. The rest of it all goes downhill. But we make sure we have a great introduction. You know, if you play music, it's all about the song. It's all about the beginning of a song and the end of the song. If you're up playing in front of people, they forget the middle. So we make sure the beginning and endings are very strong. So thank you for that comment. All right.
Thank you.
And of course, we're going to get into your thoughts on innovation, your book, and whatnot. But first, I want to go back in your career a little bit. After finishing your bachelor's degree in Bulgaria, you left to Florida to work for Marriott. That sounds like one of the most fun assignments ever. I love Florida. I was born in Florida, by the way. So what do you remember about that experience?
It was really a great experience. I have finished, actually, my bachelor degree was hospitality management. My bachelor degree, I was in the Marriott in Marco Island. It's a Marriott resort there. I have a professional career training program there. So I was put on different positions there. Great experience, great place, great friends, lots of experience in this field, really. Some of my greatest years. Yeah. And learn a lot. I mean, team working, diversity, working with people from different parts of the world, which is really, really important for every manager to be able to talk to everyone, to understand everyone, and to use the best of everyone and put it on this table. Really, that was one of the greatest experiences I had. Yeah. Even though I haven't worked in hospitality since then, but my next job was close to after that.
Yeah. So when you came back, you became, you took a role as a product manager, which I still think it's just one of the best jobs there is. I mean, I certainly enjoy what I'm doing now, but when I think about my own time as a product manager, it was just so much fun. Maybe my memory's playing tricks on me, but coming from that background and transitioning into product management, that's very interesting. So how did you learn this art of product management?
It was really difficult because when I went to this interview, the CEO of the company said, Katerina, he just asked me one single question, Katerina, can you do it? Because I didn't have any experience being a product manager. And I was put on that high position at once. And he just asked me, Katerina, can you do it? Can you be a manager of this product? And I said, yes, I can. I really can do it. I was positive that I really can run this product, can develop this product, can improve this product, and I'm talking about a hotel software product.
Sure.
So it was connected with my experience. I knew the business. I knew the business processes in a hotel, restaurant, and all the departments. Of course, I used this knowledge. I really was sure I can do it.
How did you understand the customer needs for this product?
So I was working in B2B business. So our customers were big hotels. So it was a B2B business. They know what they want. They have certain requirements. So I faced the problem of understanding customer needs then, because I was working with big customers, and big customers know what they want. They have certain needs and requirements, and they're expecting you to meet those needs and requirements. But and they thought they could articulate their needs in the right way, and actually they could do this. These needs articulated in their own words happened to be useless for the developers, for the product developers. And that was one of my mistakes. I really was able to put the customer in the middle, in the center of this process of gathering information about needs, but I was not able to ask the right questions. So the customer was in the center of the process. I was doing in-depth interviews, focus groups to see the problem from these different aspects, from different sides. But the information that I was gaining was solutions and specifications, already solutions and specifications. Like, for example, let's say when I'm making a reservation, I want to be able to restore the customer data from previous stays. This is a solution.
Yeah, sure.
We are doing this solution. We are giving that solution to the customers. And he's saying, no, Katerina, this is not the thing that I wanted to have. So if I was gaining that information as desired outcomes, for example, it should sound like to reduce the time to make a reservation.
Correct.
This is an outcome. So I was making mistakes like this, but I was like too young. I was, of course, learning from my mistakes. It's all that innovation is for, learning by doing mistakes, by failing. But the thing is to fail fast and to fail with less losses. And of course, I have faced a different situation regarding understanding customer needs.
Well, one of the things you were certainly doing right was talking to the customers to begin with. You didn't let, it sounds like you didn't have a lot of experience at the time, but you didn't let that stop you. You didn't hesitate. You didn't hesitate to take this job, for one thing, but then you didn't hesitate to put yourself out there to interview customers, to speak with them. And if I understand correctly, so anyway, you were off on a great start already by just talking with them. And then if I understand correctly, some of the information they gave you was the features or solutions they wanted. And then and tell me again, so it sounds almost like somebody on the outside might say, wow, they asked for features and specifications. That sounds great. I can just give those to the developers. Why did that not work that way?
I think customers are really not experts. And when they have that solution ready, something else is always missing. Yes. Because innovation takes time. It takes 6 months, 1 year to be ready. Even incremental innovations, which are like small improvements in something, they take time. They take at least like 6 months. Until that 6 months, customers are thinking about something different. Yes, I'm having that solution, but I want something else. I want something else together with this one. Why? Okay, I have the data, the customer data from previous state, but why don't I have other programs, for example, have something different, have this also? So when you're concentrated and focused on doing the solution, you're missing always something. Yeah. You're missing the big picture. That's why customers are not experts. The experts, these are us. Right. We are the product managers, and we know our product, and we know how to reduce the time to make reservation. Right. And this is the outcome that the customer is expecting to achieve. Yeah. So this is why.
May I jump in with a question? Yeah. So it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek question. So if customers are not the experts, why bother even talking to them? What are customers maybe experts at? What would be, why are we talking to them if they're not experts?
Especially big customers, business to business. These are customers with experience, customer lead users, most of them, that have used different programs, for example, software programs that know what is the negative and positive aspects of each of the programs. So they are a source of information, like a great source of information for sure. But we need to analyze that information, put that information in the correct statement, a statement that could help us improve the product, all the possibilities that this problem, all the business processes that this product could cover. So we know the product in a greater range, not just this small piece of it. So we can use that information for customers, because there are the people who are doing the business processing.
One of the things you said is customers are quick to ask for solutions and specifications. Mm-hmm. And then you said you like to get to the outcome, which is perfectly stated. Reduce the time to make a reservation. Where did you learn about? I'm assuming, is that when you say outcome, are you referring to like an ODI, outcome-driven innovation outcome? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. Okay. And right now, actually, I'm writing my monograph, and I'm making an integrated model where I merge the ODI strategy or process with the stage gate process, and using instrument of this design thinking too. So, because I really think the most valuable thing for us to be able really to merge different modules in the innovation process, to apply it, to integrate in the process in order to make successful and predictable innovation, to try to make the process more predictable.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that word predictable. Because I think that's what a lot of companies are looking for. It's like, hey, we had this one product that's successful. How can we do that again? And so I love this idea of this integrated model. Tell us a little more about it.
The base of this model is the stage gate model. I really see lots of, I really see the stage gate applicable in any industry, concerning any products, any product innovations in any industry. And I integrate in this model, especially in the first stages of the model, the ODI process of understanding customer needs, searching for segments that might be interested in the innovation, applying the proposed by Anthony Uick different strategies when developing innovations, and also applying some of the instruments of the design thinking in in every stages of the stage gate. So having an integrated model, I want really to contribute to company to feel more confident of doing innovations. Because I think this is the powerful thing, and the integration is really a powerful thing for us to do innovations. When reading, gaining that knowledge, and creating that ability to modify, to change, to integrate, to merge that knowledge in one, to combine that knowledge in one.
Yeah, that's the great thing about a process, right? A process is something that we're going to do over and over. If we want to do it, we want to get more efficient at it, better at it. Like when we get up every morning, we all have a process of, brushing your teeth and whatever your morning routine is. It's amazing. It would be amazing how efficient it is if you were to study it, as opposed to if I'm booking a hotel, and that's something I do not very often. Where am I going? I mean, it's not a process at all for me. It's a project because I have to start. So I love this idea of looking at the innovation as a process. So if I understand correctly, it sounds like stage gate is sort of the beginning foundation, sort of the beginning structure. Then you're adding on to there, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, correct.
That makes a lot of sense. And so let's start with the outcome-driven innovation part. How does that integrate into stage gate, or how should it be?
Especially, I think the first stages of the innovation process, when a discovery stage, the scoping stage, the ODI process comes here in the first, the concept development, the first stages of the innovation process. And then the commercialization, the testing and prototyping, again, could be applied there. Yeah. And I'm thinking about the commercializations. I am now on my progress of doing. So I'm not ready. So I'm searching my knowledge, trying to complete the puzzle. Yeah. But I'm in that progress.
Yeah.
But like the ODI, especially in the first stages of the stage gate, till the real product development.
I think something you have in common with myself and our other co-hosts is we like looking at the big picture. How does the puzzle fit together? Where do the pieces go? And certainly using outcome, stage gate as the skeleton for a company makes complete sense. ODI as, sort of at the front end makes sense. It's interesting. One of the most common things that my clients say to me is, well, they say they want to improve stage gate, but what they really mean is they really mean the front of it. Like we hear about the fuzzy front end. And so it seems, having heard this a lot, I'm like, well, why are they having trouble? It's the answer, you presented it perfectly, to have, ODI or a similar customer needs study up front. Why do you think companies have such a hard time? Why is it still such a persistent problem if we all seem to, there's a lot of alignment on what the answer is? Why do they have such a hard time, integrating voice of customer, ODI, et cetera, into the front? Seems like it should have been solved by now.
Well, there are some ways of solving this at least, but I think it goes a little bit back to maybe what we started discussing, and I think was really interesting. I think a lot of things have to happen first before you stop talking about solutions at the very front. I think so. Maybe you have to do some. I'm wondering about some kinds of mistakes or some kinds of, I don't know, like philosophies have to change. Or I don't know how to say it, but kind of you have to make this experience that it doesn't work. I mean, the experience you described, Katerina, where you said we developed exactly what they told in terms of solutions. We developed exactly what they told us, and then they rejected it.
That was a big failure.
Something is wrong. So what? Something has to give here. So
it's very difficult with big clients. They really want to tell you what they want, and they are sure in what they want. They want to get it in that way they have described it. So it's really difficult to make them say that same thing as an outcome. It's really difficult. And I'm still struggling with this to make them feel comfortable in that conversation and make them say what they want to say, but in a different way. Because they really want to tell you this. They really want to tell you the solution. I know what I want. It's really difficult. But, I mean, it doesn't happen at once. You need to have more meetings with them. You need to for me to make them describe what they're doing, the job. Describe how they're making that reservation, when they're making reservations, and just ask them to describe that whole job, the functional job, and then asking the right questions. You are the person to make them answer your question, and that way to transform that solution in job and outcome.
Yeah.
It's up to you. So the moderator, like the researcher, us, for me, has a central role in this conversation. It's up to us, really.
One of the things I really love that you said is you said you still struggle to get those words right. I've been doing this a long time. I struggle to get those words right. It's not easy. It's one of the things about jobs and outcome-driven innovation in general is that it's so simple to describe at the highest level. A customer hires a product to accomplish a job, And now we have these criteria they use, these outcomes. You can describe it perfectly. And so it's wonderful because this is an idea that communicates well. You can explain it all up and down an organization, but then that hides some of the difficulty in executing it well. But one of the themes that I'm really hearing from you that I really like is patience. You said, well, you have to go back to them. You have to have more conversations with them. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we noted even as we started is it sounds like you started interviewing folks before you had this insight of what you should be looking for. You sort of learned, well, that's not getting me, that's not helping. I need to learn more. Outcome-driven innovation, jobs. Wow, this has part of the answer. But now that you understand that intellectually, in practice, you're still sitting there with somebody else, having a conversation like we are, trying to understand what their criteria are, what their outcomes are, and it's very worthwhile. But I really appreciate the fact that you're not suggesting that it's easy, and I completely agree.
Yeah. No, it's not. And this is the longest process. The first stages of the innovation process are the longest. Yeah. So really, we need to be sure that we have done our job to understand it, and then to go on in this process. But actually, with business customers, it's really difficult. But I think it could be easier with customers. I mean, with how you say it, not
consumers
business customers, consumers.
B2C,
I think it could be easier with consumers. Actually, with my students, we're doing the Make the Wallet exercise. It's a really nice exercise. The students are divided into groups, the developers of the wallet and the consumers. And we're doing exactly this thing, how to improve a wallet by understanding customer needs, understanding and defining properly customer needs.
I love that. I want to hear more about this, making the wallet.
It's a very nice exercise. It goes throughout the whole process, the innovation process, from the first stages of understanding and defining the problem, the concepts, the developments. We're doing actually a prototype of that product, but and then they're using the instruments of the design thinking, like the low fidelity prototyping, high fidelity, the feedback capture grid, all instruments very useful in certain stages of the innovation process. So it's really fun.
Katerina, I might have to steal that example. I might have to steal that.
I can tell you more. Do you want me to tell you one more question for creativity? Like creativity for me is really like a very powerful, again, concept term, business term for innovation. There are no innovation without creativity for me. And yesterday with my students, what we did, I have put some company names on some sticky notes and product names on other sticky notes. So I have two groups of sticky notes, company names and product names. And for example, in company names, you're having American Airlines, for example, Starbucks, McDonald's, IKEA. And you need to pick a note from the first group. These are the companies, and a product from a second group. So the exercise is, what if tomorrow we cannot develop the product that we're currently developing? What we will do? So for example, you're picking IKEA, and from tomorrow, IKEA is not doing furniture, but for example, juices, drinks. So what we're doing, are we going to exist, to continue existing, or to stop doing our business? So it's really challenging.
So the idea of the exercise is that IQ would apply its approach to building or designing products relating to their existing products. So the approaches they use for their existing products to a new product that's outside of the realm of what they usually do. Is this the idea of the exercise?
Yes. Something totally different that has different resources, technologies. Maybe some of them they're not acquainted of, but
so
that's
does
life.
that imply you would have to build the juice maker from scratch and every morning or something like this?
So we're generating idea. What if tomorrow we're doing juices, not furniture? What if from tomorrow we're not doing flights, but doing, for example, lights, lamps?
I'm particularly intrigued if IKEA was doing these things, because I imagine I'd get these cryptic instructions of little cartoon people and they'd provide me tools. But what would be an example? So if IKEA was making juices, what would be an implication of that? How is that different than, I don't know, Starbucks making juices or something?
It's a matter of generating idea. We're starting by applying and generating an idea. We're applying different methods. Like some of my favorites are, I don't know if you know the how, now, wow metrics. It's a really nice tool for generating idea. Or how might we? Of course, we will use the brand. What is IKEA famous for? We do not need to reposition this product. We can use that positioning of the furnitures in customer minds, but for some other needs, not the needs that furniture meets, but some other needs of being thirsty. So definitely we're gonna use the brands of IKEA, the loyalty and the customer delightful the brand, but producing something else. And I think it will be a success.
Yeah. Well, creativity is a whole interesting area all to itself. So within your wallet exercise, so you have them begin, I'm assuming, by interviewing each other to understand needs. They understand
customers.
needs. And they get experience doing that, and you work with them to write outcome statements. Is that right? And then
yes.
And then they develop ideas for those. Is that right? And so throughout the whole process, what are some of the more, I mean, I'm going to copy this exercise. What are some of the things they find difficult to do throughout that process? What's challenging?
I think the first stages of the process, defining the problem and gathering information about it.
Okay.
I think this is the most difficult part of the innovation process. Defining the problem and gathering information about the problem before creating the concept of the problem and then development. So I'm positive that this is the most difficult part in the innovation process. And the second difficult part for me is the commercialization stage, for sure, because I think company knows what to produce, what to develop. They know what technology to use. They know how to improve their products. But I think, and based on the researches I have read, not just in Bulgaria, that they experience difficulties with the commercialization stage of the product, with introducing, because we know that there are like very good products that turn to be unsuccessful on market because of.
I want to come back to what you said about most difficult was the first, defining the problem. And first of all, I find that's also true with regular projects with big companies. So, but why do you think? So it's interesting to me that with the student exercise, the same phase essentially is also the most difficult. I don't know that I would have guessed that. Why do you think they find that? What makes that difficult?
And this part of the innovation process, we need that information in order to continue. We need to gather as much information as needed. We need to see the problem from different sides, different aspects. For sure, this is the stage that takes the longest time to be completed, but we need like a very a rich base of information in order to be sure that we have seen the problem from different sides before deciding what really we need to do as a solution. We need to talk even outside the company, inside the company. This process is multidisciplinary, I think. We need to talk with different people with different knowledge, backgrounds, different points of views. So that takes really long time. It needs knowledge and skills to be completed, that process to be completed. So not everyone. So some people are very good at generating ideas. Some people are good at the marketing stage of the innovation. But I think that process, that first stages need our experts. It needs expertise. Not everyone, I think, could deal with that first stages. This could be a person who is really trained to do this. So that's why it's difficult. Not everyone can do this.
Yeah, a lot of good points there. I think one reason it's difficult is it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And so there's just the amount of work. And I love what you say about it needs, well, several times you said we need to talk. We need to talk. We've got to gather information. There's different people in the company or customers, whoever, there's bits of knowledge here and there. To just copy what you said, we need to talk. We need to have these conversations to align we had a great talk with Jan's company, Viat, in our last session. And one thing about their process is they begin with getting the business intention, if I have that right, Jan.
Yeah.
And so in other words, for a particular project, what's the business intention? What's the business's job to be done? And what I found is different people on the team, they don't always have the same thing in mind.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
To your point, Katerina, you said it takes expertise to navigate that conversation. Part of, in my experience, it very much syncs with what you're saying. It does take expertise. And part of the reason is navigating those differences. And if I'm on the outside, I don't really have a strong opinion. Or if I do, I'm trying to sort of suppress it. I'm trying just to keep the conversation going, and which means there's disagreement. And so you have to it's hard to predict how long a conversation, if we all disagree, how can we predict how long it takes us to get to consensus? I don't know that we can. We have to use your words, we need to talk. We need to the information that's in our heads. We have to have this. We have to get aligned in this business intention, or the whole project is doomed to fail. Yeah. And I find it fascinating by no end. See, I would have assumed that for your classroom project that whatever they would just that it would be so fast. But it's fascinating to no end that they also find this the most difficult. And so just sort of recap, it takes work. So there's a quantity, an amount of work it takes. There's differences in people's heads about this business intention. We need to talk, and then it takes expertise to navigate that. Have I paraphrased
Scott,
that?
Yes, Scott, you said it perfectly. Yes.
Repeat that again. I didn't hear you. What did you say?
You said great.
Oh, okay, good. Perfectly. I thought was what I. Sorry.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Scott. I mean. Well, it really it depends on the project, but sometimes we spend a lot of time just doing what we call it stakeholder interviews. So before we talk, that's before the kickoff, before we define anything, we just pick. At some projects you have companies that are very well aligned, they know what they want. But quite often that's not the case, or at least the differences are there, and you need to kind of handle these. And then we just talk to stakeholders, each one of them individually. If it's 10, it's 10. So you basically do 10 almost like customer interviews, but it's with the stakeholders, and then you realize they have completely different visions of where they want this project to go, and then that doesn't work, because I think there's so many different ideas about innovation out there, and about what kind of also the company. I mean, where the company should be heading, and you need to kind of navigate that. You need, but you need to find a way of dealing with this. So I want a little bit. I would be really interested. You said something, Katerina, in the very some minutes ago, where you said, well, this first stage of where we are in kind of the information gathering stage, or where we just need to, it's not for some people. So some people are not good at this, or maybe it's not their thing. It's more about ideas. So what are kind of maybe can you describe a little bit more, like what's the person like that's good at this information gathering stage? What are there some qualities, or what does it, or what skills does it take?
I think this should be the product manager itself, because this is the person that combines everything, all the knowledge from different disciplines. This is the product manager. So I think this is the product manager himself. But what specifically? I love the 5 skills of Jeff Dyer: to associate, listen, to observe, to network, and to experiment. So, of course, this should be a person that has that specific skills, a specific behavior that encourages the smooth flow of that information between individuals, should create such an environment, comfortable for everyone environment. So definitely, and at the same time, this should be a person who navigates that conversation, that discussion. So really, that should be a person with great skills, certain behavior, and knowledge. So I put the knowledge above everything for me. Knowledge is above everything, but because knowledge teaches us skills, creativity, behavior, everything.
Okay.
Reading. So knowledge.
I was just going to ask, like, how do you get the knowledge? Like, where?
Reading. And I wanted to say that it doesn't matter if we do incremental innovations or radical innovations. Actually, for me, doing incremental innovation is more difficult than doing radical innovation, because doing incremental, customers are expecting to receive something that they're expecting to receive. They want to see their needs there. So doing incremental innovation is really, really difficult for me, and much difficult in practice than introducing something radically new and introducing that radical product based on technology and know-how and knowledge, experience, and getting acquainted the market with that radical product. So doing incremental is really much difficult for me.
I find that very interesting. I don't know how kind of the consensus probably. I mean, I think I tend to.
Do you understand? Do you understand what
I was just going to ask, can you elaborate a little bit? I think I have an idea of why that is, but can you elaborate a little bit? You mentioned this very nicely with kind of, okay, there are expectations out there already. So
yes.
Why is it so much more difficult?
For me, I don't know if the knowledge says that, the literature says that, but it's something I have come with. That doing increment, because improving something that already exists, this thing is used by customers. They work with it, and they are expecting this product to improve every other year. They have certain needs, and they see the solution of their needs, or they don't see the solution of their needs, and based on that they reject or accept the product. They talk nicely about the product, or they don't talk nicely about that product. But always there in the incremental innovation, there are certain expectations that we need to meet. We have to meet as an organization. When we're doing radical innovations, it's really, I think they're more like a technology push innovations. We're introducing something new, and we're making people know about this new product, something that will change their lives, that they will change their behavior. And we need to convince them that the product is good. They don't have any expectation. They're trying it, they're loving it, or they're just not loving it. But that's why I think it's much easier. It's a commercialization. It's up to our abilities and knowledge to commercialize that product in both situations. And here I think radical innovations are more difficult to be commercialized, but not more difficult to be introduced to market and to make people interested in them because they don't have any expectations.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do. I mean, you mentioned the morning routine, Scott. I mean, I think humans are such creatures of habit, and I mean, I include myself. So
difficult to change.
If there is a product out there that they've been using for years, and you change it too much, so that they really have to change their habits, that's when you're gonna get backlash. That's when they. But you have to. So I was thinking about this when you were so kind of matching it. You have to move the habits a little bit, because every kind of innovation requires a change of habits on the side of the customer.
Big or small, yeah.
We usually don't like those things. So usually we are
at first time,
at first, but it has to have a really, really big benefit that we change really our habits. And then, so I think I that's why I intuitively kind of agreed with kind of making the next generation of something that already is really loved in the market is very, very difficult. It's a very high, because you have to change it, but not too much. And now what are the dimensions to change the product on so you don't make people angry because they like you for some reason? So that's,
Several things come to mind. One, remember when Apple iPhones used to have the wider, the larger power? Before the Lightning connection, the one before, it was it was so wide. And when they went from that one, whatever, it was like an inch wide, or 2.5 centimeters wide. But when they went to the Lightning one, it was so much smaller. I mean, the benefits are obvious to anybody. It's a smaller cable, etc. But as a customer, it's like you're aggravated because now I've got to buy all new chargers. I don't care about right in this moment. I'm not concerned about what's good long term.
But I have to change.
Just change. And Jan, I wish I could say your exact phrasing. I'll get it on the recording later. But you said something like any innovation requires a change in habit. Something to that. I thought that was really, really good statement.
That's springs out of half a year of discussion with Beat on habits. So, that wasn't kind of. I know this sentence. It's on purpose. So.
But it's Katerina. It's such a great point. And one, I would have gotten this wrong if I was a student in your class. You would have given me a bad grade because I would have said radical is more difficult. But you take risk when you change your current product. I'll give you a personal example. We use this software, survey software called Qualtrics. And I don't know, a year ago, they completely changed the way I knew how to use it. I knew how to set up Jan, you might be familiar with this.
Yeah.
And so they changed how they did this. They changed how it worked. And so as somebody, when I was programming a survey, I went into a program that I had thought I knew how to use, and all of a sudden it's like I'm using something, it's like I'm going from PC to Mac. I didn't ask for this. I was not unhappy before, but man, it didn't do any good, but I let them know about it. But it seems silly in retrospect. I mean, they probably, who knows? I'm sure they had some reason. But Tony Olick a long time ago, he had a talk he would give, and it was called something like, I don't have this exactly right, but it was something like ignore the voice of the customer, which it was designed to be provocative. Nice. It was designed to be provocative, and it was more meant to not, it's back to Katerina's earlier point, is not to take I want this feature quite so literally. But if you think about it, us as customers, when you're like, I don't want this lightning port, I want the wider one. It's so funny. Even though we're jobs to be done people, we're still customers, and we still get mad, and we still insist that we know what solution we want.
Doing incremental innovation is not really so easy as it sounds.
Not at all. one point you made a while ago, like who has the expertise? You said the product manager, and I so agree with that. I think I mentioned that it's a fun job. I also think, well, it's been traditionally very misunderstood, and its importance hasn't been understood. That's almost not even true anymore. It's really becoming elevated in more recent years. But what advice would you give to a new product manager? You were a new one once, and you learned some things the hard way. For a new product manager, how would they get started? You said they should read. What should they do to get this expertise to be proficient? Take your class for one, I'm sure, but beyond that.
So for me, knowledge. Again, I mean, to be a product manager, I think you don't need to go from the lowest level of your organization and like constantly to go up to the point of being a product manager. So for me, you don't need to start from low. I don't know how it's in United States, but if I'm doing an interview for a product manager, I need to see a person that is flexible, that has creativity, that has divergent thinking, of course, knowledge on the industry that he is working in.
Let's suppose that I just took a job as a new product manager. I don't have any knowledge. I'm like, they made a big mistake in hiring me, but I was very witty and very humorous, and I just charmed them during the interview. And all of a sudden now I'm in this role. I'm way over my head. So, but I'm not going to say you made a mistake in hiring me. I'm gonna figure out how to do this. What advice would you give me?
Read.
Yeah.
Knowledge create us as professionals.
What would I read? What would I read? Give me some books to read.
My personal MBA.
By Josh Kaufman? Is that the book you're referring to?
Yeah.
I love that book.
I think it's for beginners.
I love that book. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have admitted that. I love that book.
This is a very good book for beginners.
Yeah. I found that.
Can you just say a little bit more about it?
I love it. I've never heard hardly anybody mention it. I jumped all over. Josh Kaufman, the personal MBA. He's also on his website. He's got a fantastic reading list. I think of 100 references. I just found it to be very good, and I've not heard anybody mention it before besides me. So you've got me highly interested. So the personal MBA. So describe it, Katerina. Why would you recommend this book to a new product manager?
These are we need to start that house from first steps of the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the personal MBA is a good start. It's very all the concepts, the terms are presented in a very understandable way, even for beginners, people who are young in the business. And he describes the business processes in one company. He describes the different terms, the most important terms in concerning business practices and business processes. So I think you should start from there. I don't know. Now my books are really focused on innovations, but I can continue with, for example, let's say the DNA of innovations. I think it's Jeff Dyer's. I'm not sure.
Yep, the DNA of innovations.
Yeah,
is the innovators DNA?
Yeah, the innovators DNA.
The innovators DNA.
Yeah, that's the correct title. Innovation and entrepreneurship. It's a classic one. Disruptive innovations. I don't know where's the title. Is it by Clayton Christensen?
The Innovator's Dilemma.
The Innovator Dilemma. Yes, right. Yes. I would suggest you read the Oslo Manual. It's a European document of the European Commission where all the terms, but it's again innovation terms are explained. It's for beginners. It's the Oslo Manual, but it's again focused on innovations. And my book.
Of course.
Oh, it's already out. Oh.
Let's talk about your
Very
book.
nice.
Let's talk about your. Tell us about your
my
book.
book.
Let's go right there. Tell us about your book.
Scott, Jan, Jonathan, this is my contribution to the knowledge. Does everyone understand what really innovation is? So I start the book with a really detailed, like profound analysis of the term of innovation from different sides. What really innovation is. Because to create innovation, we need first to understand when we can call our product an innovation, when we can call our process an innovation. And we need to have like one and the same meaning and understanding of this term.
I have just to let you know, I have read your paper. You have a paper out on understanding innovation.
I have, but this is my youngest. This is my young years as researcher.
Oh, so I shouldn't point this out, or so. So don't read the book. Okay.
This is one of my first papers.
Oh, okay.
So, but did you like it?
Yeah, I especially loved at the very end. Okay.
I could do much more.
All right. So don't read that paper. Wait for the book. Read the book.
Read the book. Read the book. It's much more
So what has changed?
mature.
So I'm intrigued now. What has changed from this early?
Me, of course, as every one of us.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, we have.
But has your definition of innovation changed? So do you have another? Okay.
Definitions, and I have outlines the main elements of the term of innovation. So this is me. This is the way I see innovations. So everything in the book really is new to the world and new to the theory. So I have outlined the main elements of the innovation, the elements in the term of innovations.
What are those main elements?
Okay, do you want me to tell them?
Yeah, that's the burning question. What is innovation? I want to know now.
Okay, so the first one is the newness. I mean, something to be called innovation. It should be new, something new. So this is the first element. Then we go with something improved. So something to be innovation is just not something that needs to be new to the world or to the organization, but could be something improved, something existing, improved. The second element is the perception of the newness. So Everett Roger, do you know Everett Roger? It's the diffusion of innovation theory. I think it's a great theory, and we can all use that knowledge from the diffusion innovation. Yes,
yeah.
It's a great.
It's a great book.
I think we can use that knowledge in our innovation process. There are lots of principles of the diffusion that we can do, that we can use in the commercialization stage. Very useful thing. So the perception, his words, the perception of the newness is also we can call innovation. It's an instrument for change. Of course, innovation leads to change, to adaptivity, is the ability of the organization to change and adapt. Of course, it's a competitive advantage. So firms, companies create innovation to keep their competitive advantage, to retain their competitive advantage. It's a process. Innovation is not a single act, but a process. And it starts with an opportunity. And this is something I also focus on: opportunities for innovation, sources for innovation. Some of them exist, some of them we need to create. We need to be able to see or create opportunities for our innovations, opportunities that do not yet exist. So this is also a skill of the product manager, to see that opportunity, that source of innovation. Actually, our conversation right now is a source of innovation. I'm sure tomorrow every one of us will have ideas how to change something, how to do it better. So but it's our ability to see that conversation as a source for innovation, as an opportunity for innovation. And then the most important element, this is the implementation. So we cannot call a product or a process innovation if it's not implemented. And there are different aspects of that implementation. Implementation as introduction to market. So something is developed and we introduce that product, for example, to the market. So we can say that this product is an innovation. It's not necessary to have a capitalization of this product, but just by introducing it to the market, we make that product an innovation. So this is the one side of that implementation of the innovation. And the other side is something that is used. So implementation as the exploitation of the innovation. So this is the other aspect of, so not just introduced, but used by customers.
So
but
that's successful in the market?
Minimum,
or?
It doesn't need to be successful on the market.
Okay,
a product to be called innovation. It needs to be introduced to market. The market should know about the existence of that product. This is the implementation stage of the product. So I can implement it in one single customer. For example, in software, we're doing many products that we implement in one single customer. They do not go to other customers, to majority of customers. One is enough for the product to be called innovation. So it doesn't need to be successful, commercially successful on the market, a product to be called innovation. And innovative company is the one that innovative company is the one that has implemented at least one innovation throughout one period of time. For example, 1 year, 2 years, it depends. But to introduce, so this product to go out of the company and to see the world, to be introduced. So this is the one aspect of that implementation. So at least the product should be introduced to market to be called innovation. The next one is to be used and to satisfy needs, to bring value to customer needs. So, and this is the essentials. All the innovation exists to bring value, right? And so, and this is like an element of the need satisfaction, an element of the innovation.
So
talking about product innovation here. If it's a process innovation, of course, used within the company, satisfying internal needs. Yeah.
At some point you said, I'm going to write a book. What was your job to be done? What made you decide to spend all that time and effort and energy to put into a book? What was your motivation?
I wanted, first, for my students. This is the motivator for me. I wanted my students to be able to read and to gain that knowledge, to gain my knowledge and my point of view concerning innovations. Of course, that knowledge is combined from different sources, but there is me in that book, my point concerning this theme. So my students were the greatest motivator for this, to be able to find in one place that knowledge. And the book itself described the whole process of doing innovations and suggesting instruments, techniques, methods to be used in each of the stages of that innovation process. Also giving examples. So there are many examples, because I think that every term should be explained with examples for the reader. So this is the best way to be understood. So there are plenty of examples here. Opportunities, types. Innovations are not just product and process innovations, right? There's so many forms of innovation that could bring value for the organization and the market. So it's far not just product and process innovations. So it's pretty interesting.
I do have one request for your book, maybe for a next edition.
Mm-hmm.
An English translation. Since I'm an American, everybody on this line except me is going to speak multiple languages. But as an American, we don't speak English.
But I don't speak Bulgarian.
You don't speak Bulgarian, yeah.
I know.
That's that.
Okay.
So we will all be anxiously waiting for that English version with bated breath, as the expression goes. Because it totally sounds. It's very impressive that what you put together, and you know what? Especially with the audience you had in mind, and the audience was your students. You wanted them. Mm-hmm. You wanted to create something so they had a better experience. A book that covered it from A to Z. You didn't see anything out. You saw an opportunity, to use your own words. You wanted something that was complete for them. And you created it, and it's a lot of work writing a book, and it's fun too. I keep getting tempted to do it again, and then I'm like, oh, stop it! It's like an evil thought. Just don't do that. So I really also applaud your motivation for writing it, as to provide a better experience for your students, and I have to imagine they're quite fortunate to have you. And I'm definitely going to research more about this wallet experiment. I think that's a fantastic. I may be harassing you later to ask you more about how that goes. But one last question. Not exactly the last one, but what's next for you? What's next for Katerina?
Next is my monograph, and my next stepping stone, which is associate professor in innovations. Yes, but this is still to come, and I'm very eager for this.
Well,
congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah. They're fortunate to have you as of your students. Now I really do have the last question. Okay, this is a new one for us. Okay, so if you were going to host an innovation conference, you're the product manager of the whole innovation conference. As part of this conference, you're going to bring all the attendees together and have them to watch a movie. What movie are you going to have them to watch? Surprise for my co-host.
Me?
Yeah, you get to choose the movie. Everybody's going to watch it. What movie are they going to watch and why?
Meet Joe Black.
Meet Joe Black. Well, that's interesting.
And the last scene. That's life. What can we say?
So Meet Joe Black and The Last Stand.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Well, it's very innovative because that's for one, and you gave us two. So you've got your own. You had to improve upon the instructions, which I think is fantastic. Meet Joe Black and The Last Stand. Well, why the? I'm gonna go to the second one. Why The Last Stand? What about that? Why are you gonna have us to watch that?
It makes people think. Or is life. That we're living the most incredible thing, and we need to make it a better place.
Yeah.
To live.
Well, 100% agree. I just saw this innovation the other day. It goes under a tractor and it kills weeds with light. So I don't know how the light knows what plants to kill and not, but anyway. But that's to your point. That's innovation, making the world a better place, because what's it not doing? It's not putting chemicals or all the other things they might use that hurt the ground. The light presumably doesn't hurt the ground. And so I think we think about innovation so much as how it helps a particular business, but it really helps to solve meaningful problems for people. And we're very appreciative for you spending time with us today, and you've dedicated your career to it, and we've certainly enjoyed this conversation. Well, Katerina, any final thoughts?
I want to thank you. I haven't felt more comfortable in any discussion. Thank you for giving me that comfortable environment. And I hope I will see you some other time too. Thank you kindly for this invitation, conversation.
You're very welcome. And I'll definitely be following up about that wallet. Well, Katerina, it has been a pleasure. Thanks so much for today's discussion. And that, friends, concludes today's Product Quest podcast. Please send any comments or ideas for future shows to productquestpodcast@gmail.com. and we will see you next time.
Thank you, Scott.